If you shower or brush your teeth or try to make your hair look presentable, here's some good news. Dollar Shave Club has a lot of stuff to help you out. Dollar Shave Club delivers everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. Shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, hair gel, even a wipe that leaves your tush feeling tingly clean. All of Dollar Shave Club's products are made with top-shelf ingredients that won't break your budget. You'll feel the difference. Plus, shipping is free with your membership. And here's a great way to try a bunch of Dollar Shave Club's products for just $5. You can get their Daily Essential Starter Set. It comes with Body Cleanser, One Wipe Charlie's, their amazing butt wipes, and their world-famous shave butter. And their best razor, the 6-Blade Executive. Keep the blades coming for a few more bucks a month and add in a shampoo, toothpaste, or anything else you need. Check it all out at dollarshaveclub.com/Chad. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Chad.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
There are maybe 1,000 people, maybe more, stretching all the way down this highway, occupying 2 full lanes. Those in the front marching hand in hand, small backpacks and plastic bags. But the enormity of this massive humanity is so unusual. Normally, many people come across the border every day. Rarely do they do it in one giant group like this.
Massive, huge. I don't know how many people. 7, 10,000? How big will it be when they get here? Remember, when they get through the Guatemala-Mexico border, it's still 1,100 plus miles to get to the border. It's not like it's a couple hundred yards, right? And I've been saying it's very much like Forrest Gump. Remember Forrest Gump? He went on that run, and all of a sudden everybody's running with him. Like everywhere he goes, there's another person running, another person running. It feels like that, and it is crazy when you listen to it. ABC's got, I think it's Bill Weir or whatever. He's out there with the caravan, been following along with them, and you see a lot of these. I mean, there is a ton of people who are media people following along in this massive humanity. And the look of them breaking through the gates and the way that they acted, if you're a Democrat, that's not a good look.
Bill, are Mexican officials letting these migrants pass through?
No, Hannah. They are not, despite literally a wave of humanity that essentially broke open the gates to Mexico. We're on a bridge that separates Guatemala from the southern tip of Mexico here. There's about 400 riot policemen, federales, on the Mexican side behind a 20-foot steel fence that had been padlocked shut. But for some reason, the authorities on the Guatemalan side let this huge surge of humanity in.
Yeah, well, they are, because they're in Mexico. Now, Mexico, from what I understand, is pulling some people out here and there, but Trump is making it known. He wants no part of this.
You think they're all wonderful people. You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups.
Bad hombres?
And I'll tell you what, this country doesn't want them.
I will seal off the border before they come into this country.
Yeah, and that's a possibility. It really is a possibility that that's going to happen. And it is a sad, sad situation. First and foremost, today Trump came out and said, look, you know what? If this is the way this is going to be, all the aid that goes to these countries and anybody who's complicit in allowing this to happen, guess what? Foreign aid, boom, done and dusted. This is an absolute joke. Not everybody coming here is a good person. I don't care what the left tells you. Is there a majority of people that are coming here because they want a better life? Yes. Right? Is it because they're threatened in their own country? I don't know if that's true. I think some are. I think some are bouncing because there's nothing there for them anymore. There is no way. And I think they look at it and say, hey, this is the golden goose. We're going to get ourselves over here to the golden goose.
This procession of migrants goes back probably about 2 miles, we're told. It's got to be many, many hundreds, maybe a couple thousand. Periodically, you can hear them chanting, Viva Honduras. Most of them are saying, we are not criminals, we are not assassins, we just want food, we want a decent life.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's fine and dandy. I think they did a poll. I think God knows how many people. I think they said 179 million people, if given the opportunity from South America and Central America, if they had a chance to come here, would absolutely love to come here. We can't afford this. And could we afford this 10,000? Absolutely. It's when this starts to happen over and over again. These people don't care. They're coming here. They're not worried. They don't care. They don't care what America says. They don't care what the president says. They're coming here, period. Case closed.
Many told me they will hope to find jobs here in Mexico. Some talk about coming to the United States. I asked them if they're deterred by President Trump, by separating families in the past, by new stricter laws, and they said they have no choice. Several that I talked to, some said they'd be willing to stay on this bridge for months. That's what it takes to convince Mexico to let them in.
Yeah, and Mexico, what do? Right? You gotta sort this out. But it is an absolute joke. These countries are. I've said, look, as much as the left and right have failed at getting a handle on immigration, as much as that is true, what has been the biggest failure of all, the thing that never gets talked about, that needs to be talked about, is the fact that these countries, I'll say it, they suck. They absolutely suck. You can Viva Honduras all you want. If your country's so amazing, why are you risking your life to come to my country? Because your country sucks. It's that simple. Your country may be a wonderful place if it wasn't for your leaders who've turned it into an absolute hellhole. They've allowed drugs, cartels, and corruptions to run everything. It is a joke. Your countries have failed you, and now what are you doing? You're turning to the place where the golden goose is. You're turning to the place where opportunity is. You're turning to the place where you think, you know what, I'll come over here, I'll make some money, I'll send it back, it'll do all of those things. You're turning to that. You can Viva El Salvador, Honduras, any of these nations that you want to, go ahead and do it. But the reality is your country has failed you. That's it. Your leaders have failed you. I'll say it. Others won't. Your leaders have. Your country right now is awful. So you decided, hey, we're going to have to get the hell out of here. And now we're going to have to deal with this. And it's going to make the president, for a lot of people, look horrible. And it's going to give an opportunity for the media to bash him. Oh, my God, he sent the military there. If he goes and does that, he's cutting off aid. Look at all of the stuff he's done. Oh, he's just an evil, bad person. But you know what? The left didn't deal with this when they had the chance. The right never deals with this when they have the chance. Trump is dealing with it. And sometimes, look, the way he deals with things, I'm not a fan of, but nobody else is doing it. And these countries, they're the big loser in this. You're letting manpower, you're letting brain power and human beings leave. Are there bad hombres that are coming? Yes, because if you're going to have a massive humanity like that, it only goes to figure that there's going to be some people in there that are leaving because the opportunity to come here and do whatever it is that they're going to do illegally is right in front of us. Is everybody that way? No. But the failure is on these countries. Absolutely 110%.
Get Mexico to stop them before they get to the United States. Have Mexico work with the United Nations and the United States to deal with refugees before they get to our borders. I really appreciate Mexico upping their game. Trump is tough. Mexico is listening to Trump. They're responding to toughness. These caravans need to be stopped in Mexico.
Yeah, they do. That's Lindsey Graham right there. They do need to be stopped in Mexico. This needs to stop right there. Period. Case closed. This needs to stop. You have a chance to stop it. It's only, they're not magically flying here. They're having to walk through your country. Now, some of them say they're going to stay in Mexico, which we know Mexico's not going to be a fan of that. Others say their whole goal is to get here. Normally, Mexico would ole them in. Ole! And just let them go by. They don't want a part of that. They don't. They don't want any part of that. At this point in time, we've got to figure something out. And how much is Mexico really going to do, though? That's a big question.
Mexican authorities have shown they're reluctant to physically confront these migrants. And ahead, they face this building humanitarian crisis. There are no facilities. There are no showers here, little food and water. And for the rest of the day, they face the prospect of a clash with Mexican authorities.
Which they don't want either, right? So what do? It is a nightmare upon nightmare upon nightmare, and somebody better get a handle on this sooner rather than later. And let me tell you what's going to end up happening is Trump is going to absolutely send somebody to the border, whether it's I don't even know, whether it's the military, whether it is, who knows what Trump is going to do. He's going to build something up along the border. It is going to look ugly from the media standpoint. They're going to have a chance to go out there. It's going to energize some of the other base. It's going to be crazy. And the facts are Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, El Salvador, fail. Republicans, Democrats, fail. Trump at least trying to deal with it, albeit it's not going to look good. It's not. It's an ugly, ugly situation, and I don't think anybody wins out of this. I don't. But what is Trump to do? At what point in time do we say enough is enough? I don't care if you're on the left. At what point in time do you stand back and go, you know what, this is ridiculous? At what point in time do you say, I've had enough of this? At what point in time do you stand up and say, no more? Our kindness only goes so far, and then we're being taken advantage of. At what point in time do we say we are a sovereign nation and there are rules that we must adhere to, or we stop being a sovereign nation, and if they're not going to adhere to it and they're not going to be a party to it and we're not going to follow those rules, then what the hell do we have rules for? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
While pointless pundits ponder what was, Chad wisely wonders, what's next?
Long lines and big dreams. Over the weekend, the chance of somebody matching all the Mega Millions numbers were about 60%, but as excitement grows, so do sales. Experts think the chances of at least one person winning on Tuesday night will be about 75%. Of course, your odds of winning are still the same, 1 in 300 million, same as rolling a dice and having it come up all ones 11 times in a row. Folks in Massachusetts, New York, and Florida spend the most on lottery games, and overall, we Americans plunk down $70 billion a year on tickets. More than we spend on books, music, movies, and video games combined.
What? You know you're playing. Don't pretend you're not playing. But, Chad, I don't do it. It's a waste of money. Yeah, but the whole thought process is have fun. That's what it is. It's a chance to dream, even for a moment. To think to yourself, God, my life is awful and crappy and just a dumpster fire. Wouldn't it be great to wake up tomorrow worth $1 billion? For the rest of us out there who don't feel that way about their life and would like to have $1 billion, that's fine. But for a lot of you out there, that's what it's like. Now, the reality is to win this would be huge, but the odds are long.
The odds of winning are so slim, around 1 in 300 million for each. You're more likely to give birth to identical quadruplets or become a saint than win one of the jackpots.
Or become a saint while giving birth to quadruplets or whatever, being struck by lightning while riding around on a great white shark's back. That's the odds of that. But the reality is everybody's got a chance. That's the beauty of it. You may have bought 100 tickets or you may have bought 1 ticket, but you've got to take a shot, don't you?
More likely to get hit by lightning than winning it, but if you don't play, you can't win either.
Yeah. Now, here's some issues, okay? Now, one of the things a lot of you out there have played office pools. Do you understand how it works? Because money gets involved, people get greedy and weird, and then it goes south. So take a deep breath and look around and say, all right, is everybody in or are they out? We want to know for sure, and there's a reason for that.
Office pools don't always go as planned. Take the construction worker in New Jersey who was in charge of buying the lottery tickets for his work pool. But without telling anyone, he claimed the $38 million win for himself alone. He was sued and lost, which is why experts say set the ground rules early and in writing.
Yeah, 100%. Early and in writing, because the lawsuits are going to come. Because what ends up happening is people totally get involved and they say, well, wait a minute here. I was here every day for a year and I gave you money. And at times I was the one who got the tickets and I happen to be out because it's my daughter's anniversary, graduation / whatever, christening of grandbaby. And then all of a sudden you guys don't account me into this, knowing full well I put money in. The lawsuits come and it's a nightmare. Here's the other thing. People change. And I'm not talking about lottery winners. There's going to be some change there. But the fact is, everybody around you in some way, shape, or form is going to change because you're no longer the person that was the next door neighbor. You're now a bank account. You're no longer the person who just lived a normal life like everybody else. You're now worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And everybody who's got a wacky idea, a crazy idea, or who's been there with you feels that you should invest and or you owe them something. So a lot of times what happens is people actually change far more than the winners do, and it happens in everything. Look at sports. Look at people who become famous when it comes to the entertainment world. They'll tell you that it's a lot of times the people around you that change, and then they're mad because you don't give in to whatever it is that they want. So you got to be strong. You got to know there are some people you're going to help, and there are other people out there that you're not going to help, because you know they're only here because you're your third cousins twice removed, and you haven't talked to them for 15 years, but they're calling because they got a great investment opportunity, and they just happen, oh, you won the lottery? I didn't know that. Yeah. Hit the road, punk. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us every single day at this time. We like to give you a little something, 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 something. We call this our urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
Today, after you win the lottery, or I win the lottery, I'll be putting on my serving looks. What is that? That's somebody who is on point. Everything about them is on point. I'm going out, and I'm going to serve the world the best of me. Oh, yeah. I am dialed to the nines in my outfit. My hair looks did like never did before. I look everything that is supposed to be, everything on point. It is my serving looks, and I'm serving to the world my looks with $800 million. Serving looks, your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you. That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
I'm going to put some away, and then I want to buy some schools and buy recreation centers for the children, create some after-school programs or some essential things they need for learning.
Everybody's going to have a little something. I mean, everybody, like something that you're going to do, that nice thing that you do for somebody or something. I think it's great. I do. And remember, if you've ever known anybody who has a lot of money, a lot of times what ends up with money is that person usually, if they were a jerk, they were a jerk if they were poor. And if they're good people, it just allows them to be better people. Right? That's the reality of a lot of what happens to people. Does it change a few people? Yes. But by and large, it just allows you to be more of who you are. I've known people with tons of money. I've known people with money like you couldn't believe, with the B word. That's right. And I knew them before, too. And they were kind of jerky. And I knew them after. And they were still kind of jerky. So it just allows you to be more of who you are. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, they've got something in common. And it's not a good thing, and it has very little to do with them. Talk about that. Midterms as well. And Halloween, did it make a Hall-oween, if you will? See the way I did that? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Trump's fun. He is. Let's be real. He is fun at times, and he's just out there doing what Trump loves to do. And listen to this here. This is everything you need to know about Trump, because he is the master at times of ceremonies, and it is hilarious. You know, being out watching him the other night and covering all the stuff that was going on, he puts on a show. And he puts on a show, and he goes very Christopher Walken at times. But listen to this. So remember, it was all about Lion Ted.
To me, he's not Lion Ted anymore. He's beautiful Ted. He's Texas. I call him Texas Ted.
Call him Texas Ted. We're changing the thing, and that's okay, because I understand that. Like, when you're going through a primary and or an election, for all intents and purposes, you see the way that these things play themselves out. They stab each other. They at times just the bold-faced lies the PACs put out there. They come after you hard. Trump did it in a much different way, because Trump looked right at Lying Ted and said, "You're lying, Ted. And you're little Marco." And he said all of those things, and everybody gets a nickname with Trump. And but he's coming out to help, beautiful Texas Ted now as he takes on Beto.
I think Beto O'Rourke is highly overrated. When I heard about him, I figured he must be something a little special. He's not. I thought he got beaten badly in the debates. I think he's a highly overrated guy.
Beto's probably not going to win. The reality is he's not going to win because he's in a very red state, and even though he has got this rock star kind of feel, I watched something this weekend. I don't know if it was CNN, it was somewhere where they had this lady following Beto around, and she would look up, and then she's like, "Oh, you're a rock star." It was just like, wow, you're not even trying now. Slow down, put your clothes back on. Chad, you're being a jerk. You're such a jerk. But he does. He has a great feel. He's out there. The people love him. But when they go to the polls, are they going to love him enough? That's the thing. I don't think it is going to happen the way that people think. And Trump is out there doing his thing. Former President Obama out there doing his thing.
Politicians say every time, this is the most important election. This one's really that important. This November's election are more important than any I can remember in my lifetime, and that includes when I was on the ballot.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not. Everything is the most important, right? Everything is the most important. Everything is the biggest. Everything has never been more important. Everything is huge. Everything. It's very important for the Democrats, especially in the sense that if they take back the House, they can start initiating all kinds of investigations. They can start going after tax returns, doing all the things that they want to do. I get that. What is it going to look like? That I don't know, because the reality is after 538 and the debacle of the 2016 with the polls being wacky, I couldn't tell you where any of it is, because depending on the poll, you can spin it any way you want.
Is there a Democratic wave coming? We've got data to support that. As a surge of post-Kavanaugh enthusiasm for Republicans turned back the Democrats' momentum, there's data to support that. Or could this be a typical midterm with Democrats making just modest gains? There's data to support that, too.
Yeah. Everywhere you look, there's something new. And that's why I always say data and facts are amazing, but it's who's giving you the facts, what numbers, who's asking the questions, how are they asking the questions. That's big. The truth is that they had a big lead at one point in time, but I'm not quite sure that's there anymore.
Here's what our brand new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows with just over 2 weeks to go until the midterms. Among registered voters, Democrats hold a 7-point lead in the generic ballot, 48-41. That's down significantly from the 12-point lead Democrats held just a month ago, pre-Kavanaugh, when it was 52-40.
Yeah. And now you've got this caravan, which I think is going to be a big thing. But Trump's been going around, and he's going to do it everywhere he goes. Pretend I'm on the ballot. Because in many ways he is, especially when it comes to the House. I think the Senate, they're going to pick up a few seats in the Senate. There were too many Democrats in red states that had to defend what looked like a tsunami in the House, maybe more of a trickle. So he's saying, hey, pretend I'm out there. And guess what? Right now for Trump,
As for President Trump, he has his best numbers yet in our poll. Among registered voters, 47% approve of his performance in office, while 49% disapprove. That's substantially better than his numbers last month in our poll, 44-52 approve, disapprove. But again, among those likely voters, his numbers did get worse, 45% approve, 52% disapprove.
Yeah. But it should be among voters that show up, and that's going to be the big thing. Is it going to be massive? That I don't know. The fact is I don't know who's showing up. I don't know who's showing up. because you see all this stuff, right? Like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks, it was a done deal. It was a tsunami coming. I said, yeah, but they'll probably hold on to the Senate, but it could be massive tsunami. Then you had the Kavanaugh debacle, and both sides really jacked the pooch. But the Senate, I think, as far as and the Democrats, I think, came out in the end when voters, as far as voters, in a way that it made them look far worse. And now you've got people that are getting excited. Now you've got this other thing, this caravan coming here. And maybe that all that excitement, enthusiasm that once was there isn't the way, it's not the way it is anymore.
Republicans is only 6 months ago. I think we were all talking about a blue wave that we knew was coming and was going to be very significant. We're not quite talking that way anymore. It looks kind of more interesting and complicated and state by state.
Yeah, and it's going to be much closer than people think. I don't know. I don't. And the people I've talked to, because I look at a lot of things. Polls are some of them. Who's asking the polls? The second thing is ballots. Right? Ballots is huge. How many ballots have gone out? Those kind of things. Those things are big to look at. A lot of people are and then you've got to start putting stuff together. So you've got ballots, you've got polls, then you've got to mush it up together and try to come out. And at this point in time, I think for all intents and purposes, it's a best guesstimate when it comes to it. And I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you at this moment in time. What I do know is of all the things I can tell you, I think from the people I've talked to and what I've looked at, the Senate looks like they may pick up a couple seats of Republicans. The House was once a big worry for the Republicans of it being an absolute just slaughter. Now they feel like they have a puncher's chance of holding on to it. But even if they lose it, it's not going to be by a huge margin. And in some ways, that's a victory. It is. Now, we live in a new world of politics, and I'm going to say this. Coming up is something that is just very, very sad. I don't like it. Eric Trump spoke about this the other day, and I think we've got to start standing up. Maxine Waters, I'm looking right at you, because I think I've had enough of this, and most people I know, 70% of us are in the middle. We don't really identify with either party. We're in the middle. There's 15% on either side, or depending on what you're looking at, maybe 80% of us in the middle and 20% on either side, so 10% on each side. That is just insane. And we need to start speaking up more. I like civility in this world.
America might have people on the right. They might have people on the left. What America doesn't like, what I don't like, is radical, right? And they have become a mob. The left has become a mob, the vast majority of them. You see Antifa, you see them lighting pickup trucks on fire. You see them yelling at people in restaurants when they're going out to a nice dinner with their wives. The one day a week with Ted Cruz, you saw what happened.
Yeah, they're making Ted Cruz look like a sympathetic character.
Scratching at the Supreme Court doors while making fun. I mean, people aren't into this stuff.
I know.
People want civility.
Yeah, you know what? They do. They do. And no matter what a lot of people say out there, well, on TV, you guys are just, no, it's ridiculous. Both sides are a part of it. Case in point, something that I will point out both sides of the BS. This is Mitch McConnell the other night with his wife at a restaurant hanging out.
Why don't you get out of here? Why don't you leave the entire country?
Ditch, He threw their leftovers at them?
Yeah, so they threw his leftovers, told him to get out of the country, get the hell out of there, banged on the table, took the goodie bags out of his like a dog bag, and it's ridiculous. Nancy Pelosi at an event in Coral Gables.
Look at this piece of shit right here. Look at this piece of shit Pelosi right here. Communists. You don't belong here, you communists. Get the out of here. Get the out of here.
I had enough of that. You know what? Both sides are clowns. Those are the extremists we don't need. Maxine Waters, I'm looking right at you because you have told people to go out and get in each other's faces. You've told people that I'm looking right at you. This rhetoric, this kind of attitude that doesn't do anything. Going up to a 70-something-year-old woman or man and getting in their face as if you got the cojones of steel to do something like that. Step off. Have a debate. Have a conversation. Say, you know what, Mitch? I don't like the way you've handled things. I'm just letting you know that, and you walk on. But doing what you're doing is clownery. It really is. It is absolute just, and it doesn't help anything. There's no conversation here. It's a joke. It is. But this is what happens when we, the mass, keep our voices quiet and allow the few, the bully pulpit, the microphones, the bullhorns, to do whatever they want. It's okay to have discourse. It's okay to sit down and talk. It's okay to protest. It's great. It's part of being a... But then there comes a point where this is a joke. And this is one of those things. Pelosi didn't deserve that. Mitch McConnell doesn't deserve that. This is a joke. It really, really is.
Why don't you go after Republican leaders the way Republicans go after Democratic leaders?
I don't think it's a message that really carries the day. Voters are listening for both political parties to say something other than a political squabbles underway in Washington. They're looking for us to address the issues that affect them and their future, the cost of prescription drugs, whether they've saved enough money for retirement, making sure that health insurance is available and affordable. These are things that drive the message home. The Republicans can't win on those issues, so they get personal.
I've talked to a lot of...
Really? And the left does. Both sides do it. Somebody just texted in, the real culprit's Trump. Really? I don't see Trump going. No. Trump is a bully at times. Absolutely. It's absolutely wrong. He says things that drive me crazy. A lot of people out there. But the Maxine Waters of the world, screaming and yelling and saying, get in people's face, go out, do those kind of things. Come on. Enough. Both sides. We need to stand up and look at somebody. People say, what would you have done to somebody who's saying that to Pelosi? I went over and confronted the guy. I'd be like, look, I may not agree with their politics, but this is BS. Same thing with Mitch McConnell. Doesn't help at all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. AMAC. All right, you ready to join AMAC? Huh? You ready to join a organization that's going to go out there and fight for you? That's going to go out and fight for things like small business owners, tax reform, things like immigration reform that's common sense. Go out there and fight to stop the push of government-run health care. That's what AMAC is. It is a conservative alternative. And are you ready for it? 1 year free. Join today. If you're over the age of 50, they're not even going to ask you for a credit card. All they want you to do is sign up. It is simple. It is easy. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad. They're going to fight for you. They're going to fight for your values. Things like protecting our borders, enforcing common sense immigration reforms, supporting small business, standing up for your individual God-given freedoms. That's what AMAC's all about. They're ready to do that. And on top of that, this is the other thing that I love. The benefits are massive. Retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, those kind of things. 40% off movie tickets, up to 40% off Disneyland, Legoland, SeaWorld, things like that. It's incredible what AMAC can do for you, and the benefits are great. amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad. Join for free for 1 year right now. They don't even want your credit card. amac.us/Chad. AMAC is better for you, better for America. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me. You can text the program as well. 323-538-2423. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Darn, that climate change. Batten down the hatches. It's Topical Storm Chad. Headed your way.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
Moviegoers still like a good scare from Michael Myers. Halloween opened in first place this weekend with $77.5 million in ticket sales. It's the second highest horror opening of all time, behind last year's It. In second place, A Star is Born continues to shine. The Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga flick held on to the second place spot for a third weekend with $19 million. The comic book film Venom bumped from first place to third with $18 million. Linda Lopez, ABC News.
Yeah, it was a great movie. There's a reason they make horror movies, because we like them. We're consuming them at a high rate. They're cheap to make. We like thrills. And rarely does a movie come out. Like, here's a perfect example. It made hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. It was one of the most successful movies of the year. It cost $35 million to make. When you go and look at the kind of return on investment that movies make, this movie, Halloween, made $100 million the first weekend, $77 million here, and about $20 million worldwide. And it hasn't even opened up in 23 large markets where it's going to dominate. It's going to be huge for the next 2 weeks. Guess what? It's going to make $300 million, maybe $400 million. Cost $10 million to make. $10 million. That's why. The return on investment is massive. You go and make a movie like that, the Disney one with, oh God, what's his name? This past year that they released, right? That Disney Star Wars one. It cost them $300 million to make the movie. Even if they broke even, because you figured $500 million total with everything, it did $600 million. They made $100 million. Sounds great. Didn't make this kind of money for this kind of budget and this kind of risk. That's why people like them. And they're going to continue to make them left, right, and center because they're cheap to make and there's a built-in audience that will always see it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. People tweeting in saying Trump is a bully. Yeah, Trump has been awful. He has been horrible. His attitude, his language, the thing he says, the way I rail on him constantly about it. 100%. 100%. But we can also call everybody else on their BS, right? I mean, we act like Trump came along and then we were all nice before this. You go back in times. I think when Adams ran, they called him a transvestite or a transsexual back in the day. I mean, that's the kind of insanity. This has been going on for years, hundreds of years. All we want is a little civility. And just because I don't like your politics or you don't like my politics doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about it. Going up and threatening a Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell is ridiculous. It really is. We can do better. But so many people want clicks and views, so they're willing to do stuff like that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Check out Chad Benson Show TV. That's on the old YouTubes. And go to Chad Benson Show Facebook. There we got videos we put up each and every day across all the mediums because that's what we do here, kids. We aim to please in so many ways. We fall short, but we're trying, and that's really all that matters. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You know what? Maybe it will and maybe it won't, but it certainly hasn't affected. They could do a lot better job. You look at the three countries in particular, and I don't know what's going on with Mexico. I guess it looks like the people are walking right through the middle of Mexico. So I'm not exactly thrilled there either.
Yeah, Trump today talking about the, this caravan. Can we just be honest about the caravan, too? I heard somebody, like, how big is the caravan? Like, I'm looking at it, and, it's 1,000, maybe 2,000. It is much bigger than that. I mean, even liberal organizations are saying it's approaching several thousand people. It is insane. And now what? Like, that's the big thing. And what didn't help them, and I talked to a couple people that I work with who live on the left side of the aisle, if you will, saying, you know what? Watching them break through that whole thing, that gate in Guatemala, was very, very bad. And at some point in time that we are going to have to act. And they're going to challenge Trump all they want. And I'm looking right at these countries. These countries have absolutely failed. These countries have absolutely failed their people. And now you've got tons of people coming here, and it is nuts.
And there are families, there are children, toddlers, and they all came streaming up to the fence. At first, they tried to form a single-form line because they were told they'd be let in one at a time in a humane, orderly way. But the crowd was just too powerful. They pushed against, literally broke open the padlocks, and were greeted by the cops, the policemen are now forcing the gates back shut after firing either smoke canisters. I didn't smell tear gas, but an incredibly frightening scene to be in the middle of this.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. As a nation, we can have empathy. As a human being, you can have empathy. I can have empathy. But as a sovereign country, right? Like, we can all look and say, I feel bad. But we have to put an end to this. We do. We do. Do we need to make it easier for people to come here and work? Yes. I have no problem with that. But we can't take everybody, because a good portion of the world would love to come here tomorrow. A good portion of the world would get out of here as fast as possible. I mean, out of their countries as fast as possible and get into here. Boom, lickety split. These nations, Honduras, fail. Guatemala, fail. El Salvador, fail. Mexico, in many ways, minus a few big cities, fail, fail, fail. Fail. Absolutely fail. The leaders of these countries fail. Big F. You have failed. You have failed your people. You are awful, 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 awful. And now Trump's going to stand up and he's going to do something. What is he going to do? I don't know. He talked about who these people were the other night. Do I think these people are what he says they are?
You think they're all wonderful people. You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups. And I'll tell you what, this country doesn't want them. I will seal off the border before they come into this country.
Are there bad people in there? Yeah. If you have if you have 1,000 people, there's odds are that a few of them are not going to be good. You have 5,000, 10,000 people. I mean, I'm hearing everything from 7,000 to 11,000. Let's just say you have 7,000 people. Now, odds are that a few of them are not good people. Trump's come out today and said that there's people who are of Middle Eastern descent, if you will, that are inside of there hiding, hoping to get here. Yeah. You know what? That might be true. When I was down at the border, when we were down there in McAllen at visiting our station out there at KURV, shout out, we were down on the border, and it was eye-opening. And when we were talking to the Border Patrol, said, look, we are catching more people from Somalia, more people from Pakistan, and several other nations. That they're just coming up and turning themselves in. They understand they're going to Mexico. It's easier to get here, and that's what they're doing. They've got a plan. It's crazy. But now, what happens? Because this track, by the way, I was watching it today. It looked like a marathon where you see the marathon runners going along and then they're handing them water, or now they've got those little, those little things they squeeze that like juice box nourishment thing. It looked like that. People are going by and they're handing them all kinds of stuff as they're walking by. Do I think everybody coming is a criminal? No, but that doesn't mean that we need to open up and say, come on in. It's wonderful.
This procession of migrants goes back probably about 2 miles, we're told. It's got to be many, many hundreds, maybe a couple thousand. Periodically, you can hear them chanting, Viva Honduras. Most of them are saying, we are not criminals, we are not assassins, we just want food, we want a decent life.
Well, you know what? That is on your country. Your country sucks. I'll say it right there. Honduras, awful. Why? Not because you look at the country. It's a country. The leaders have made it awful. El Salvador, awful. Why? The leaders. Honduras, awful. Why? The leaders. If your country's so amazing, why are you fleeing your country? Because here's where opportunity is. Here is where a chance for you to come over and to make a living and then to support your family and friends or whoever you're supporting back over there. This, in many ways, is your lottery. I point the finger all the time at the Republicans and the Democrats for not getting something done when it comes to comprehensive immigration reform. A lot of that has to do with what's happening now. But as far as the outside, the fact is these people are coming here because these countries have failed their people. These countries suck. They do. I said it. Boom, bang, deal with it. It is the truth. Corruption, check. Crime, check. Poverty, check. Cartels, check. And more corruption. They have failed their people. And their people have no choice but to try to figure something out. Mexico's looking around going, all right, I got to figure something out here. And I don't even know what the hell they're doing. I don't think anybody knows what the hell they're doing.
What's perhaps most stunning about it is that they continue to push on. These people have all been offered asylum status by the Mexican government. They are rejecting it because they're convinced it's a ruse by the Mexican government to deport them back to Honduras, and that's why they're sleeping on the side of the roads, under shelters in town squares, on the hard concrete floor, and any other place they can find.
Yeah, and there's a reason they don't want asylum in Mexico, because Mexico isn't the golden goose. For some of them, they may stay there. But the reality is, for a good portion of the people that are in this caravan, this was always the destination. This is where they want to be. This is it. And Mexico needs to figure something out, because the last time Mexico kind of, ole, just let everybody on through, right? Like the bull coming through, right? The matador, ole. Now Mexico's trying to figure something out, but what are they going to do?
Mexican authorities have shown they're reluctant to physically confront these migrants. And ahead, they face this building humanitarian crisis. There are no facilities. There are no showers here, little food and water. For the rest of the day, they face the prospect of a clash with Mexican authorities.
Yeah. So what do we do? I think at some point in time, Trump, and sooner rather than later, remember the midterms are coming up, so this will energize both bases, because the left will say, Trump's awful and he's horrible and we should let these people in. And Trump's going to say, we've had enough is enough, and I'm the only one willing to take the stuff on. And good on you for that, because nobody else wants to. They're all playing grab ass with each other and using, this to raise money and to energize the base. But something needs to be done. And is it going to be the military? I don't know if it will or won't. But what I do know is that we need to start looking at Mexico and saying, look, here's the deal, Mexico. You can either start gobbling these people up and sending them back, or we're going to look at maybe looking at Western Union and a few of the other ways that you guys are getting funds back here, and we're going to start tacking on massive fees, because Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, their biggest export, for all intents and purposes in many ways, is their people. To come here, they work, they earn a living, and then what they do is they send that money home. Remittance, they send that money back there, and that is a huge way that a lot of people are able to sustain themselves over there. We got to start figuring something out, and it needs to start happening sooner rather than later. It does, because the humanitarian crisis, the nightmare that's going on, all of this stuff needs to come to an end. We are a nation. We are a sovereign nation, whether some people out there want to believe it or not, and both sides have failed, and we need to start pointing fingers. Even though we've got some fingerprints on some of these nations across the board, we need to start looking and saying, you better start handling your business, because we're about to put an end to this kind of business. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I sleep better, as you guys all know. But one of the big things is, for a long time, and I think a lot of you guys realize this, you guys are the same way, guys especially, we sleep hot, right? That's why I love my Casper. I don't sleep hot at all. I sleep cool and comfortable every night. And the other thing is, my body feels great. For all the years of athletics and the things that I've done, my knees, my feet, my back, there were times when it's just unbearable, and getting up was awful. I don't have that problem thanks to Casper. Here's the great thing about Casper. I'm going to tell you right now, 100 nights risk-free in your own home. They want you to test it out, all right? They're going to send it to you in a box where you go, there's something in there? And when you open it up, you're like, whoa, it is incredible. If you don't like it, you send it back. They'll pick it up. No questions asked. Full refund. Are you ready for it? Are you? Risk-free. You ready for it? 100 nights in your own home. Go to Casper.com, code Chad. You can get $50 off towards the purchase of selected mattresses. That's Casper.com, code Chad. $50 off the purchase of selected mattresses. Casper.com, code Chad. Terms and conditions apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. By the way, Saudi Arabia, you're fooling nobody. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
There was a fist fight, and then the guy died, and then they forgot to call the ambulance and instead called a bone saw person. And I mean, does that strike you as credible?
I'd say that right now as an administration, we're more in the fact-finding phase, and we're obviously getting as many facts as we can from the different places, and then we'll determine which facts are credible, and then after that, the President and the Secretary of State will make a determination as to what we deem to be credible and what actions we think we should take.
Yeah, enough of this crap. Look, he's dead. We know he's dead. The most insulting thing, as awful as this is the way that the Saudis have treated us, right? The way that they've treated us and the rest of the world. The lies they have told that weren't even, you couldn't fool a 2-year-old with these lies, but that's what they did. So you punched him so hard, he disappeared? What? They used a body double, which wasn't even a good body double.
Turkish officials here are convinced that the killing of Jamal Khashoggi was a premeditated murder, and they're now telling CNN that they even believe the Saudis went to the extent of sending a body double here to pose as Khashoggi, leaving the consulate in an attempt to cover up the killing. CNN has obtained exclusive surveillance footage. It is part of the government investigation, and it appears to show just that.
Yeah, it wasn't even good. So wait, he went in wearing these clothes, came out. Somehow he had grown somewhat of a beard instead of a goatee, and he had full head of hair?
This man could almost pass for Jamal Khashoggi, and that's the idea. These are the last known images of Khashoggi alive, moments before he entered the Saudi consulate. Take a look. Same clothes, same glasses and beard, similar age and physique.
Not even close.
Everything except the shoes. But a senior Turkish official tells CNN that the man on the left is a body double, one of 15 Saudi operatives sent to kill Khashoggi and then cover it up.
Not even close. I've seen it. They don't even look alike. And he somehow grew hair. It was awful. It is horrible. And the Crown Prince is to blame. He is. MBS, right, is a bad, bad dude. A lot of people knew that.
King Solomon says it wasn't him. Why doesn't it smell right to you, Ambassador Jordan?
If you look at the pattern of this Crown Prince over the past 2 years, everything he has touched has turned to disaster. He's orchestrated this incarceration of his uncles and cousins and businessmen at the Ritz-Carlton last November. He's presided over a terrible war in Yemen. He has abducted the Prime Minister of Lebanon. He has put many, many people in jail, detained them for nonviolent dissent. And so I think you have to assume that his fingerprints are all over this. This could not have been his inner circle committing this without his knowledge and approval.
Yeah. Bad dude. But crazy on the outside keeps crazy on the inside. And that's what a lot of people think when it comes to this. I think it's time that we say we've had enough. Rand Paul over the weekend said it. They need us more than we need them. And this entire area of the world is a giant cluster hump. It is not getting any better. It is at times getting worse. And we have an ally there for all intents and purposes, and that is Israel. Outside of that, everybody who is semi-nice to us either wants something from us or is terrified of us. Usually it's the first, and they want no part of what we have to offer. So we have to start asking ourselves the question, at what point do we say, you know what, fish or cut bait, we're going to cut bait. We are. Well, Iran's bad. Saudi Arabia is just as bad. The difference is we don't get along at all with Iran, and we kind of do because of the finances and the oil with Saudi Arabia. But their export of violence and hatred towards the West is massive. 9/11. That's all you got to say. So what do? That's the big thing. At what point do we say we've had enough? We don't need you to buy our weapons. We'll be okay. We'll move on with this. And if you have something that breaks down, well, that's on you. Because it's our weapons, and if we need to come show you how to fix it, well, you're going to have to learn how to play nice and stop what you're doing. And until then, Enjoy your broken stuff if you can't fix it and you can't fly it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Interesting character coming on next. Michael Knowles, Daily Wire, works over there with Ben Shapiro. Very interesting guy. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, midterms, Khashoggi, who knows what else. It's going to be fun, though. I promise you that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
So I like having unique people on. I see him doing his video podcast and working over there at the Daily Wire. And I said to myself, let's get him on. And we've got him on. Michael Knowles joins us now. And first and foremost, my man, appreciate you coming on today and taking time with us. I know you're out and about doing stuff. And let's jump right into it. There's a caravan coming here, Michael. And what is the Trumpster going to do?
You know, he has handled this simply perfectly, and I don't think that you say that about every single thing the president has done. He has really nailed it on this, which is this is an unacceptable affront to our sovereignty. Frankly, it happens much more frequently than we all want to admit. Obviously, this one is a little larger, 10,000 people, but every single day we arrest 1,000 to 2,000 people crossing illegally at the border. Who knows how many make it through undetected? And what he has said is, okay, that's fine. You don't want to deal with this problem, Mexico. You don't want to deal with this problem, Honduras. That's okay. We're going to cut off your aid. And I think he could go even further and threaten remittances from Mexican nationals who are working in the United States. If he decided to slap a fat tax on Western Union money transfers, I think you would see this caravan turn to a trickle overnight. But I think he's handled it pretty well so far, and we'll see. I mean, this could end up being a defining issue of the midterm elections.
Yeah, you know what? This, in a weird way, this has helped the Republicans because what a perfect time. The Kavanaugh, people got excited for Kavanaugh, but it was one of those things where you got to be hot at the right time. And as we all know, we have ADD in this country. And after a week or two, I mean, we haven't heard a word about Kavanaugh. And all of a sudden this pops up and they're 1,000 miles away. This is going to be an ongoing thing all the way. And they're totally Forrest Gumping it because, you know, one day it's 1,000, then it's 2,000, it's 4,000. Right. And by the time they get here, it could be 11, 12, 13,000, God knows how many. And this is a perfect time and like a perfect storm for the Republicans.
Well, I often think that the greatest tool that Republicans have at our disposal is Democrats because they somehow always manage to step in it. They pick these awful, unpopular issues. We know that illegal immigration and border security is a number one priority, not just for Republicans, but even for many Democrats. And Democrats have become the party of open borders and abolish ICE. So there is this wonderful strategy, I think, in the Trump administration, which is to make Democrats angry. Then they go mad, and then they finally start to act stupid. And they're really stepping in it left and right here. I also sometimes wonder, you know, we know that George Soros and Soros-related groups are funding Puebla Sin Fronteras, the group that is collecting this caravan, pushing this caravan up through South and Central America. But I sometimes wonder if secretly he's a conservative operative because, you know, when they do things like this, it is such an affront that even if the American people were willing to consider some form of amnesty, some form of a path to citizenship, all of a sudden they say, no way, cut it off, elect Republicans, and build the wall. Really helpful, and I'll take the help wherever we can get it.
Talking to Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire, and we move from there to this whole thing with Jamal Khashoggi, which it's unraveling left, right, and center. They don't know what to do. Trump's got to be strong here, right? Like he can't. First of all, what they spun to us was the biggest bunch of horse turds of all time to even think that. And at some point in time, Michael, the truth has to come out. But Trump just can't be like, look, we want the money. I don't really care about this guy. He's got to be a little bit non-Trumpian in some ways, I think, in the way he handles this.
That's right. I think he needs a little bit of subtlety, but I think you're seeing that out of the administration. Jared Kushner gave an excellent interview with Van Jones today. It was, I think, the first fair interview I've ever seen on CNN, probably the last one that I'll ever see on CNN. But, you know, from the beginning of this story, you could tell it was a partisan hit job from the media and Democrats. They had nothing to run on in these midterm elections, so they focus on the killing of an ex-Saudi government official named Jamal Khashoggi, who for a couple of years has been writing for the Washington Post. And they've tried to make him into a liberal, secular, Western martyr. He's not. He's a radical Islamist. He wept when Osama bin Laden died. He is a supporter of Hamas. One of his chief criticisms of the current Saudi regime is that they're too favorable toward Israel. He's a decided Islamist. He's been a member of the Muslim Brotherhood for a long time. Does this justify an extrajudicial killing? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't defend the Saudi government. But there's no news story here. The Saudi government commits heinous crimes day in and day out. And it seems to me the lesson is if you pal around with radical Islamists, bad things are going to happen. Fortunately, President Trump has not spoken out of turn on this, I don't think. But it would be a huge mistake for Republicans to get distracted by this story because we're winning on everything that actually matters to voters. And it's a really desperate Hail Mary by Democrats to distract before the midterms.
You know, Michael, over the weekend I saw Rand Paul on, and I agree with him. You know, at some point in time, we don't need Saudi Arabia. They need us far more than we need them. Right. And this you know, you go back and look at Obama. The only time he got overridden as far as a veto was when he was trying to protect the Saudis. It's not like he's the Trump is some sort of magically the only president that's ever done that. They've all tried to do that. At what point in time do we say, you know what, we're going to look elsewhere because whatever you think you're going to provide to us, there's just too much headache coming along with it?
Well, of course, you know, we've had a long relationship with the Saudis. Saudi ideology has been the chief exporter of terrorist ideology probably around the entire region. That said, it's a relationship of convenience because we use Saudi Arabia to counterbalance the real threat to the global order, which is in Iran. Iran, since the Iranian Revolution, has been the greatest underminer of the world order because they have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. On one hand, they try to play nice at the United Nations. On the other hand, they fund terrorist groups all around the region and around the world. So I'm perfectly happy to use that relationship of convenience to our advantage, but we should try to use this, if not to cut off our relationship with Saudi, if not to kill arms deals or whatever. We should at least use it to try to get some concessions out of them. They should change their educational system. They should stop being so stridently anti-Western, anti-American, anti-Israel, what have you. And if we could get some concessions out of them and maintain our relationship to counter the threat of Iran, that's fine. But you're right, we don't need Saudi Arabia, and we need them for energy less and less by the day.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Talking to Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire and a former actor. Are you still acting at all or what, man?
I think when I did my bestseller, I think that the reasons to vote for Democrats, a blank comprehensive guide, I think that may have destroyed my acting career. But I will say I'm in this movie, No Safe Spaces, that Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager are doing. And I'm also doing this great project right now with my friend Andrew Clavin, screenwriter and novelist, who has this story called Another Kingdom. And it's about a young sort of schmucky guy in Hollywood who can't catch a break. He enters into a portal into a fantasy world with daggers and blood and dead damsels at his feet. And having lived in L.A., I can tell you, it's unclear which world is more absurd, you know, the medieval fantasy land or Hollywood. But that's been a lot of fun. We just released the second season. The first season was a big success, and we're seeing great numbers on season 2. So you can check that out at Another Kingdom as well.
Cool, right on. And last question. So midterms, not too far away. You know, I feel like the House is going to go the way of the Dems, which is going to be, you know, 2 years of investigation. I think the Republicans are going to pick up a seat or two in the Senate, but it feels just like, I mean, you know, you don't know because looking at the polls, I don't always look at the polls. I look at the, you know, the absentee ballots and things like that, but it just still feels like it's going to be closer than people think. It's not going to be the blue wave, but it's definitely going to be a little bit bluer and purple, if you will, in the political world. Don't you think?
Well, we can at least take solace. The polling shows or at least suggests that we won't have that blue wave. We might get the blue trickle, and this is historical precedent. You know, the party that has the White House typically loses Congress in the first midterms. It happened to Obama, it happened to Clinton, it happened to Reagan, it happened to Johnson, Truman, on and on and on. So historically, we would expect that. We know, however, that we're not living in normal times. President Covfefe has really upended the political order. So I'm not sure. I'm not willing to bet that Republicans hold the House, but it's certainly plausible, especially if Republicans get out and vote. Right now, GOP voter enthusiasm is as high as it's been since 2010, since that sweep Tea Party election. A lot of that has to do with Judge Kavanaugh and the vicious smears and character assassination against him. The downside is Democrat voter enthusiasm is also very, very high. So I think you're going to see probably record high midterm turnout. I think your analysis is right on the Senate. I'm a little more hopeful on the House, but we'll have to see. A lot of these races are pure toss-ups, and who knows? We still have a couple weeks. Anything could happen. There's always a late-term October surprise that could crop up and screw up all of our predictions.
Oh, absolutely. Did you get your lottery tickets? Because and let's be real, the whole end game is let's just win the lottery. So I take $900 million, $600 after taxes, and no longer care.
You know, this is what I thought. I only play the lottery when it approaches $1 billion. As if I wouldn't be satisfied with $100 million. It's only $1 billion. And I can't tell, you know, when I did that blank book, Reasons to Vote for Democrats, that really did feel like winning the lottery, making this stack of nothing become a bestseller. So I'm kind of hoping that I can harness that again. You know, we're in this midterm election year, and I don't know, how are you going to spend your $1.6 billion?
You know what? I haven't really decided yet. I mean, I've got some things. I'm going to get some exotic animals. That's kind of my jam. I like animals. I got lizards and all kinds of stuff. So, but outside of that, just a nice house and, slowly just keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe just expand it a little bit more. I'm not going to give up work, and I'm only 47.
That's exactly how I feel. I do think it's a particularly good time in the country and in the world where you think if I got $1 billion, I'd still keep doing my job. But, you know, we live in a great country and things politically are looking up and up every day.
Absolutely, my man. Michael Knowles right there. Daily Wire. Appreciate you coming on. Look forward to talking to you again.
You bet. Great to talk to you, and we'll have to have you on my show.
Absolutely. I love that. Thanks so much, man. I'll talk to you soon. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. Check him out. Go to the Daily Wire. You can check it. That's old Ben Shapiro's thing. He's got some good stuff there, and Michael's there, and Andrew Clavin's there. It's interesting. And people ask me, why do you bring people like him on? Well, first of all, I find it to be interesting. Secondly, this weekend, if you didn't see the fact that McSally and Sinema each had a chance to be on with Wallace over the weekend on Fox, and Sinema turned it down, the Democrat, shows you everything you need to know. No matter how many times I ask people to come on from the left side of the aisle, rarely do they want to. The right side of the aisle is always open. Even today, Kushner sitting down with Van Jones shows you everything you need to know. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? Say what? All right, so stupid is the only way to describe these idiots.
As Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania County talking, Kane Hartwick is driving as Athena Cologne holds their baby. And it appears this was not just a ride down the street. There are reports of them riding with the baby over a 6-mile area south and west of the Fredericksburg city limit.
That's right. You have a couple. First of all, they're driving a moped. So for all intents and purposes, your life says, I have failed. Right? Like, this is as good as it's going to get. You're driving a moped. It'd be one thing if it was a joke, but I have a feeling this is their mode of transportation. But then to have a small child, in between the two of you with no headgear on or anything, and did I say they're on a moped?
Both Hartwick and Cologne are in their mid-20s, and both are facing 2 counts of felony child neglect. The Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office says after receiving a number of calls, deputies caught up with the couple at the Overlook Terrace apartments where they live.
I bet those are nice. What do you think, Phil? Think those are nice?
Oh, I'm sure they are. It says Overlook.
It's like these things have been overlooked for a long time. You know what should be the front of it? Like they should have like a design. It should be like a subpoena. This are probably solid right there. Do you guys have a pool and jacuzzi? Nope. We do have gunfire, though. Chad, you're being a jerk. So here are these two ding-dongs. Again, solid. I'm surprised they were wearing clothes because usually if you're just going to go full stupid, it's best. I always say this, and everybody always fires back at me. Why do you say that? Because I watch live PD. And usually everybody that gets pulled over in some way, shape, or form has no shirt on. Because I have never in my life said to self, get in car and drive with no shirt. Get in car that has stolen license plate that has been spray painted and drive no shirt. These idiots are driving a moped and the kid doesn't have any kind of protection on, including that. Now, think about this in this day and age. That alone should say everything. Say, what? When I was a kid growing up, I was on the back of my dad's Harley driving around, right? I wasn't driving, he was. Did we go far? Nope. He never took me on the streets. We would go around a circle in our little neighborhood, but he would never take me out and anywhere there was other cars or anything like that. He would never go really fast. He never took me to the freeway. But when I was a kid, man, we'd all get in the back of the truck on the freeway because, well, we were insane back then and it seemed to be something okay. We don't do that now. Know your role. That's it.
Neighbors are horrified.
There's no protection for the baby. If they had been in an accident, the baby definitely would have been killed.
No one answered the door at the couple's apartment. Kane Hartwick was released from jail earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to go out there and say probably not like uber smart. That's it. Probably not. And there's stupid, and then there's people who are ignorant. Like, people don't quite understand because they haven't read up, they don't care, but you're stupid if you don't understand. We can't let kids go across the street by themselves without four parents, right? You need you, mom, dad, maybe grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle to walk across. We need to form some sort of special, like wall to let a child go across the street, but you would allow something like this? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Now, speaking of that, right, for all of those things we're just talking about there, here's something that everybody should do with kids and older people and just about everybody.
Get your flu shot. It's on every parent's fall to-do list, right? Well, not really. The CDC reports that a growing number of children are not getting some or all of their recommended vaccinations. The percentage of children under 2 years old who haven't received any vaccinations has quadrupled in the last 17 years. Recent numbers suggest that about 100,000 children who are now younger than 2 aren't vaccinated against 14 potentially serious illnesses. That means some diseases that may have been thought of as long gone are making a comeback. In 2017, Minnesota suffered the state's worst measles outbreak in decades.
80,000 people died last year from the flu. For all the worry we worry about, 80,000 people. I read a heartbreaking article over the weekend of a mother and father who lost their child about the same age as Jack to the flu. They're both doctors. They said they just put it off, and it came out of nowhere, and what turned it to be the sniffles, just boom. Just, come on. We worry a lot about a lot, when the reality, what's in front of us at times, is far more dangerous. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hurry, still time to go out and get your $1 billion lottery ticket. You better do it. Can't win if you don't play. It's that simple, kids. Dream a little. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Bill, are Mexican officials letting these migrants pass through?
No, Hannah. They are not, despite literally a wave of humanity that essentially broke open the gates to Mexico. We're on a bridge that separates Guatemala from the southern tip of Mexico here. There's about 400 riot policemen, federales, on the Mexican side behind a 20-foot steel fence that had been padlocked shut. But for some reason, the authorities on the Guatemalan side let this huge surge of humanity in.
Bill Weir right there. ABC News is out there just following along, as are a ton of reporters and across the world at what has become a mass of humanity. And it is huge. They're coming here. That's what they're telling everybody. They're coming. Now, are all of them going to reach here? I don't know. But what was once 1,000 has become 2, and it's continuing to grow. I don't know how many thousands are a part of this. I do know when I see it's far more than 2,000. That's for sure. When I see the pictures, when I see the videos, it is a mass of humanity, and it is on its way here to the United States of America, according to many that are in this mass of humanity. They're coming here. Immigration has been a very big issue, usually around election time. Both the right and left ignore it as much as possible. Trump has stepped up and said, look, his big theme was, I'm going to handle this. Nobody else wants to do it. I'm going to build a wall. I don't know what the wall's really going to do. I've said it over and over. It's more symbolic than anything else. We're not looking at the ports. We're not looking at the people that come here and overstay their visas, which is a massive problem. Massive problem. But for the people in the states along the border, this is a huge problem. And here comes thousands, potentially 10,000. Who knows how many are on their way here and how many will actually get here. It's a long walk. This isn't like we come through the border from Guatemala to Mexico and then it's a couple hundred, steps. It's 1,100 miles. Some of these people are 2,500 miles. 2,500 miles. They're making this trek and they're hearing what's going on. They're seeing the Trump come out and do what Trump does.
You think they're all wonderful people. You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups. And I'll tell you what, this country doesn't want them. I will seal off the border before they come into this country.
So you hear him say that. They know what is being said. They're hearing from the reporters that are there, as well as following it on their phones. Because a lot of these people, I've seen they have phones and all of this stuff as they head their way down here. And the reality, or up here, and the reality is they don't care.
This procession of migrants goes back probably about 2 miles, we're told. It's got to be many, many hundreds, maybe a couple thousand. Periodically, you can hear them chanting, Viva Honduras. Most of them are saying, we are not criminals, we are not assassins, we just want food, we want a decent life.
Well, you know what? You can Viva Honduras all you want. You can Viva Mexico all you want. You can Viva Guatemala and El Salvador all you want. But the reality is your countries suck and they've failed you. Your leaders have failed you. That's the reality. You're coming here because you feel you have nowhere else to go. And we are the land of opportunity. We are the golden goose. This is your chance. You're coming here. That's the reality. You can Viva all you want, but you're willing to Viva the hell away from wherever it is that you think you need to escape from because your country, your leaders have failed you. They have failed you. They have absolutely failed you. They are corrupt. They are full of criminals. Your leadership there who have turned a blind eye to the cartels, to the crimes, to all of the things that happen there. They have taken away opportunity for you. And so you're coming here. Think about that. You're willing to risk it all and walk some 2,000 plus miles to get here because your countries have failed you. Your leaders are awful. Your leaders are horrible. Your leaders pay very little attention. It's all about just, for some of them, it's surviving. But for others, it's get as much as you can, promise the world, never deliver, and be, well, quite frankly, as corrupt as you possibly can be. That's exactly what it is. And because of your failure, to see any change down there, your leaders are saying, well, go to America. Go to America because our best export is you guys. Go there. Go make money. Repatriate that money back here. Your leaders have failed you. And because of that, your countries are awful. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the country, the leadership of their countries. That's what I'm talking about. Awful. Somebody's going to go, oh, you're just a horrible xenophobe. Shut up. Doesn't matter. You know, Trump's already starting to cut off aid to some of these countries who are just being, just watching this and not trying to stop it, being complicit in this happening. And here's the way I look at this. The thought of helping them build up their country would be great. I don't want to be, nation building any more than anybody else. But the reality is we've got to figure something out. But my hesitation and in fact, my no, I don't want to, knowing full well that money will be absolutely siphoned off into the bank accounts, into the pockets of too many leaders there, and it will not help those nations at all. They are corrupt. They have been failure after failure, and some of that has our blueprints all over it. But it has been failure after failure after failure after failure. It doesn't matter if we're involved or nobody's involved. They are corrupt. It's part of what happens in those nations. We always talk about how corrupt, how bought our politicians are. It pales in comparison to so many other places on this earth. It does. It's a joke. It's a failure. Watching people come here from other countries willing to risk death, willing to risk everything because you have failed your people. The left and the right have absolutely failed. They've played games, whether it's trying to get people to come here in hopes of one day of finding them a path of citizenship and being the enduring, loved group of people that you'll always vote for, or the other side for cheap labor. It's always been a game. But the reality is that these countries, well, their politicians have failed them. Their leaders have failed them. The corruption there is rampant. So people are willing to bounce. And they don't want to stop them from leaving, because they realize that them coming here, the repatriation of dollars back over into Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and yes, even Mexico is massive. This is an export for them. This is an export. So there's no really any need to stop them. And they don't care that there may be an issue of, hey, you know what? What happens if you lose your kids? What happens if you, for a lot of these people, look, it's a price they're willing to pay.
Many told me they will hope to find jobs here in Mexico. Some talk about coming to the United States. I asked them if they're deterred by President Trump, by separating families in the past, by new stricter laws, and they said they have no choice. Several that I talked to, some said they'd be willing to stay on this bridge for months if that's what it takes to convince Mexico to let them in.
And I don't know what Mexico's going to do. Mexico's caught between a rock and a hard place, but they need to start figuring it out. They absolutely need to start figuring this thing out.
What's perhaps most stunning about it is that they continue to push on. These people have all been offered asylum status by the Mexican government. They are rejecting it because they're convinced it's a ruse by the Mexican government to deport them back to Honduras, and that's why they're sleeping on the side of the roads, under shelters in town squares, on the hard concrete floor, and any other place they can find.
And here's the other reason they don't want to. Because they don't have anything there that those people want. They don't. What we have is what they want. Opportunity, a chance to make money and send it home, some goodies as well. Mexico, they can pretend that, hey, we're going to give you all this stuff, and it may be a ruse to get them to say okay and then send them home. But the reality is there's nothing in Mexico they want. There's nothing in Mexico they want. These people, when they set out, they didn't set out to get to Mexico. They set out to get here. That's the reality. And I don't know what Mexico's going to do, because there is this worrisome situation here. You know what? Mexico better start dealing with this, or we're going to start not only looking at the deal that we just got done with them, but what are we going to start doing when it comes to maybe saying, hey, look, everybody wants the Western Union and do all these kind of things. We're going to come after you. We're going to slap a fat tax on there. We're going to do whatever we need to do to slow this down. and they don't want any part of it. They're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Get Mexico to stop them before they get to the United States. Have Mexico work with the United Nations and the United States to deal with refugees before they get to our borders. I really appreciate Mexico upping their game. Trump is tough. Mexico is listening to Trump. They're responding to toughness. These caravans need to be stopped in Mexico.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's going to happen, because while they're confronting them, they're not really doing anything about it. They're not taking them on physically. They're just kind of allowing them to meander on through, and it's growing. I call it the Forrest Gump. You watch the movie Forrest Gump. He starts running, and all of a sudden, all these people are running with him. It seems to be the same thing. They've started moving, and all of a sudden, it's gone from 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000. Who knows how many people? If you've got 2 miles of people, that's probably more than 1,000 or 2,000. We won't know the exact numbers. And how many of them, how big will it grow? And how many of them will try to stay in Mexico? Or how many of them will get picked off one by one? There's always that, too. And it's going to disperse. Some are going to head towards Arizona. Some are going to head towards California. Some are going to head towards Texas. It's crazy. But at some point in time, as a nation, enough is enough, right? We can be sympathetic and empathetic, but we've got to stop being foolish. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Try to get back to everybody. Somebody called me liberalized and old news earlier. Hey, I try to get back to everybody. That's the way you feel. There's plenty of shows out there. You know, the way that we deal with things nowadays is we just yell at each other. It's just so stupid. It really is. It really is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Oh, my goodness. Hey, so I got myself a vehicle, new vehicle. In fact, we've got 2 vehicles. And what we do is, first thing I do, it's funny, so I go and get the vehicle and they offer you these like, hey, you could buy this and it's going to cover all your stuff. And it's a joke because I've got CarShield. The first thing I did once I got my new vehicle was call and get CarShield. I looked at what they were offering compared to what CarShield's giving me, and I'm all, and this couple was buying a car, and I said, don't do this, get CarShield. And they said, oh, okay, what's CarShield? And they looked it up compared to that, and they're like, wow, we're going to do this. CarShield is amazing. It is incredible. It's extended vehicle protection. And what these other companies were offering when I got my car compared to what CarShield offers is a drop in the bucket. CarShield is amazing. First and foremost, the entire process of fixing your car for a cover repair has never been easier. It is super easier. And you get to choose your favorite mechanic. When I was looking at this other one that they handed me, I started laughing because it's authorized mechanics. Nope, you choose your favorite mechanic. You get 24/7 roadside assistance. And yes, while your car is being sorted out and fixed, rental car for free. So what are you waiting for? Save yourself thousands of future car repairs. Get covered by the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. Do what I did. Call CarShield, 800-CAR-6100. Mention code Benson. That's 800-CAR-6100. Use code Benson, saves you 10%, or you can check everything out online at carshield.com. That's carshield.com. Remember to use my code Benson, saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
It's the picture that has Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania County talking. Kane Hartwick is driving as Athena Cologne holds their baby. And it appears this was not just a ride down the street. There are reports of them riding with the baby over a 6-mile area south and west of the Fredericksburg city limit.
Now, why is that weird? Because the baby's on a moped in between the two of them without a helmet. Now, I was talking to producer Anthony earlier today, and look, we do live in a world where you can't go across the street without, like kids, you need 12, you don't need 2 parents, you need extra parents, you need grandparents. Oh, kids are going to cross the street. Quick, everybody out there, let's form a line, a shield to help them cross the street. And I was telling my producer Anthony before this, I said, look, when I was a kid, not this young, but I was a kid. I was like 8, 9, 10. My dad had his Harleys and stuff, and I would ride on the back of it. I can't remember if I had a helmet. I'm sure I did. Maybe I didn't at times. Hell, at times when I was a kid, I'd ride in the back of my dad's truck on the freeway. But you can't do that nowadays. This is the whole thought about you have to be cognizant of what's going on in the world you live in. If kids can't go across the street, what makes you think you can just put a kid without even a helmet on your moped? Not a Harley, a moped.
Both Hartwick and Cologne are in their mid-20s, and both are facing 2 counts of felony child neglect. The Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office says after receiving a number of calls, deputies caught up with the couple at the Overlook Terrace apartments where they live.
Somewhere in the report, somebody said, and they're stupid. That should have been it. Can you file a felony against stupid? Because that's what I feel. I feel... And there's a difference between being stupid and being uninformed, right? And I just think that these people are just not the sharpest tools in the shed, and you just have to know where you are. I mean, it's not that hard in this world to know where you are. What is the climate of life? Have you never been on the internet? Have you never, ever watched television? Do you not understand that this? And on top of that, is the common sense just gone?
Neighbors are horrified.
There's no protection for the baby. If they had been in an accident, the baby definitely would have been killed.
No one answered the door at the couple's apartment. Kane Hartwick was released from jail earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, and that's with you for the rest of your life now. That's with you. And you are just, it's amazing. What's amazing, isn't it somebody did this, right? Because people do things all the time. And what is amazing is the fact that you think that this is a good idea in this day and age. That's the thing that's so amazing. Knowing at any given time, somebody's looking for somebody to do something and complain, and you go and do something like this. That's the amazing part. It's not that you did something like this. It's just you thought that this was a good idea in this day and age. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's a new world that we live in. Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi are finding it out. We're going to talk about that. Midterms are here. And anti-vaxxers, what do you think about vaccinations? We'll touch on that. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Turkish officials here are convinced that the killing of Jamal Khashoggi was a premeditated murder, and they're now telling CNN that they even believe the Saudis went to the extent of sending a body double here to pose as Khashoggi, leaving the consulate in an attempt to cover up the killing. CNN has obtained exclusive surveillance footage. It is part of the government investigation, and it appears to show just that.
First of all, I think we need to figure out what's his name. Is it Khashoggi? Is it Khashoggi? Secondly, if you've not seen the body double, they weren't even trying. They weren't even trying. The only thing about him that was awful. And for those of you who want an obscure reference, Ed Wood was better at a body double than this. You got that right, Phil? Ed Wood?
Of course I did.
Yeah, good. For those of you guys who don't know, when Bela Lugosi died, they replaced him with a dentist that was like a foot taller than him with no hair. That's how bad this was. Nobody buys this anymore. They've come out with a new kind of like, okay, here's the deal. It really wasn't what we said it was, because that's a slap in the face of anybody who is over the age of 2. Right? Nobody bought that this was a fist fight. Nobody.
Fist fight led to Khashoggi's death. 59-year-old guy takes on a dozen operatives in a consulate. One of them, we're told, is a forensic pathologist, and there are reports from the Turks that a bone saw was involved. What does that sound like to you?
Well, certainly, and I agree with Bob completely in his view on this. if you look at the composition of these 15 people, they weren't interrogators. They were bodyguards. They were security people. As you said, you had this forensic doctor along.
Yeah, nobody is buying this. They're now trying to figure out what to do. Now, they're coming after Trump because Trump has to figure out what the hell he's going to do because he's in a tough situation.
He's got some real pressure coming, both Republicans and Democrats in Congress, who want to see sanctions on Saudi Arabia. Rand Paul, one of the president's closest allies, said he'd like to see the arms sales scheduled to Saudi Arabia cut off. The president himself has been kind of all over the map. The interview with the Washington Post where the president said, obviously, there's been deception, there's been lies. But in that very same interview, the president said this of the Crown Prince. He's a strong person. He has very good control. He's seen as a person who can keep things under check. And I mean that in a positive way.
Well, I like what Rand Paul said. First and foremost, we talk about Iran and the way that they export terror. But the fact is that the Saudis take a lot of the money we give them, put them towards madrasas, and those madrasas teach hate towards Westerners, towards modern culture, towards Christians and Jews and anybody else who doesn't buy into what they're doing or saying. And, Trump is in a tough position. At this point in time, I think we walk away. You do you, we'll do us. That's the way it's going to be from now on. Doesn't mean we can't be friendly when time calls for it, but after this, and I would like to walk away from all of it there. I really would. I think most of you listening would probably be in the same position, minus the business sides of some of the things there. I think it's just at this point in time, what does it serve us? It is a war, civil war between the Sunnis and the Shias, and that has been going on for God knows how long, and will continue to go on. And then you throw in the Israel, and you throw in anybody else that differs from them, the Kurds, this, that, and the other. It is an absolute nightmare, and there is no win. And I understand what Trump's trying to say. I've always said is he's got a handle on things, meaning crazy on the outside can keep crazy on the in. The tougher you are, the harder it is for crazy to get out. And that's true. In a nation like that, you want to keep crazy in. You want to keep radicalized in because they know what happens when radicalized gets out. People start looking. But at some point in time, we've got to just say, all right, we've had enough.
For the president to mollycoddle the Saudis on this issue is so wrong. The president ought to be taking the strongest possible action against the Saudis. There are lots of things that can be done.
Absolutely, I agree. Just like Obama. Oh, that's right. The only time Obama was ever overridden on a veto is when he wanted to protect the Saudis. 97-1. They said, yeah, we've had enough of this. Let's think about that. Bush, all of them have played this grab-ass game with the Saudis. At some point in time, can't we just say we've had enough? We've had enough. Now, Jared Kushner sat down with Van Jones today, and a very interesting conversation they had, and a lot of it was about this.
There was a fist fight, and then the guy died, and then they forgot to call the ambulance and instead called a bone saw person. And I mean, does that strike you as credible?
I'd say that right now as an administration, we're more in the fact-finding phase, and we're obviously getting as many facts as we can from the different places, and then we'll determine which facts are credible, and then after that, the president and the Secretary of State will make a determination as to what we deem to be credible and what actions we think we should take.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't. Look, is it about Iran? We don't want Iran to get any bigger. But, at this point in time, it's a difference between you got a rattlesnake over here and the other side you got a cobra. Both of them, given their opportunity, would love to get rid of you and kill you. But the fact is, if we stand back, what happens? All right? What happens? It is an ugly, horrible situation, and the president's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Again, I think that our administration's made a lot of gains in our fights against terrorism. We have to deal with the long-term ideology of extremism, and Saudi Arabia is a critical partner in that. I mean, they're the custodian of the two holy sites, which is very significant in the religion of Islam. And a lot of the reforms they've been making there to help us track down the terror financing, and then also to push back against people who are perverting the religion have been very historic over the last year. So we're hopeful we can keep pushing forward with a lot of the initiatives that further American interests and that push back against Iran's aggression. And so we're going to stay focused on that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just look at this thing and say it's a lose-lose across the board, and Saudi Arabia is just as bad, if not worse, because of their madrasas, because of their wasabiism, because of all of this stuff. It is I don't know. It's an ugly situation, but that's why you're the president. You got to make that decision, and not everybody's going to agree with it. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. There's going to be some winners and losers in this, as far as some people are going to be excited because they think Trump's going to be hard on them, and then they may not be as hard as you think, and that fight is going to go on. It is. And a lot of people over the weekend were texting me like, why do we care about this guy? Like, what do we care? I mean, who cares about a guy that wasn't really a citizen, that was a bad dude at times, hung out with bad people, and now all of a sudden we see... That's a good question. I think it's a fair question to ask. I absolutely do. He did hang out with some bad people. I think in that part of the world, you have no choice but to hang out with bad people, right? If you look at everything, you get one side, you see that, he was a friend with Osama bin Laden up until 9/11 and the coal. He begged bin Laden to step away, right? Well, he's part of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's part of a powerful family, or was part of a powerful family, a wealthy family. There's a lot of issues there. It's a crazy, nasty world. And, at some point in time, you get to a point where it's like the mob, you're the odd man out. No matter how much you've done for them, you may be the odd man out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So midterms, what are we, 13 days away, 14 days away, something like that? I think it's 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? So you got midterms. I look at this. I've been looking at it. I have no idea what to make of it. I don't. I think the chances of them winning the House, the Democrats, over the Republicans, I think it's very real, and I think that they've got more than a puncher's chance and then some to win. I think they're going to win it. And the other side of the thing, I think the Senate is they're going to pick up some places in the Senate, which is going to be very interesting to see how this thing goes.
Is there a Democratic wave coming? We've got data to support that. Has a surge of post-Kavanaugh enthusiasm for Republicans turned back the Democrats' momentum? There's data to support that. Or could this be a typical midterm with Democrats making just modest gains? There's data to support that, too.
Yeah, that's Chuck Todd. I have no idea. I don't. I look at one, I look at things. I look at polls. I look at voter enthusiasm polls, but I also look at things like ballots, right? You look at the absentee ballots and things of that nature. There's a lot of different things to look at. Not just if you go with polls, because polls are so, as we found out with 538 in 2016, it's tough to buy into any of that. And how much does the caravan and Kavanaugh play into what's going to happen? Kavanaugh may play into it in the Senate, but when it comes to the House and what potentially could happen there, I don't know. Everything's too close to call. It is crazy. It really is. I look at this and I think to myself, is he going to get served in the House? But is he going to win it in the House? I don't know. What I do know is what was going to be a tsunami, according to many, that's done and dusted. I don't think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Republicans is only 6 months ago. I think we were all talking about a blue wave that we knew was coming and was going to be very significant. We're not quite talking that way anymore. It looks kind of more interesting and complicated in state by state.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a very interesting battle in 2 weeks, because 2 weeks is a lot of time. You're seeing a lot of these. The voter momentum it's neck and neck. Now, for some out there, it may be too late. For others out there, there's still enough time, right? Like the Senate, I still think the Senate is there's just too much to defend. We've been saying that all along. It's too much for the Republicans to have a chance at taking, because red state Democrats are up. So the opportunity is more than there for the taking, for them to pick off a couple seats, maybe 3 seats. But the thought process that they were going to lose a ton in the House. And remember, what happens in the House is where everything's going to originate. You're going to talk about, there's going to be subpoena of tax records. There's going to be all kinds of things, investigation after investigation. This fight is going to be huge. And Trump realized that's why over the weekend he was saying, look at me as if I'm on the ballot, because he understands how important this is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. And I think this caravan is going to be another one of those things where in the next week or so, depending on what Trump's done, could energize the base. Or it could piss people off, could energize the other side of the base. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. My Pillow. Tossing, turning, counting sheep, tossing, turning. Is that you? I've been there. I've got My Pillow. I tried it. I was skeptical. They said, try it. I said, all right. I'm skeptical no more. I feel amazing. Those lumpy, horrible pillows. Some of those pillows are like they're hard as rock. Other ones are like it's like a deflated accordion when you're on it. Not with My Pillow. My Pillow is incredible. Provides you the comfort night's sleep you've been missing. Made right here in the USA. 100% machine washable and dryable cotton. And here's what they're doing for you right now, right? You get a 10-year warranty. Buy one, get one free. You buy one, you get one free. Buy one, get one free. I sleep like I've never slept as an adult. It is incredible, and I love it. You're going to love it, too. Buy one, get one free. Call 800-983-4975 or go to MyPillow.com. When you do, use the promo code Benson. You're going to get a better night's rest. It's the world's most comfortable pillow. MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson or 800-983-4975. Promo code Benson. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter, ChadBenson. We got your useless fact of the day. Wrap it up straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Get your flu shot. It's on every parent's fall to-do list, right? Well, not really. The CDC reports that a growing number of children are not getting some or all of their recommended vaccinations. The percentage of children under 2 years old who haven't received any vaccinations has quadrupled in the last 17 years. Recent numbers suggest that about 100,000 children who are now younger than 2 aren't vaccinated against 14 potentially serious illnesses. That means some diseases that may have been thought of as long gone are making a comeback. In 2017, Minnesota suffered the state's worst measles outbreak in decades.
Get your kids vaccinated. By the way, we worry about all of this stuff that goes on, right? We worry about this and that and illegal immigration, and we worry all of these things that we freak out about, that we make a huge deal about. You know, last year, 80,000 people didn't die from guns, right? They died from the flu. The flu. Young and old, some not healthy, some healthy. They died from flu. I read an article the other day, a horrific article of a couple who's like 8-year-old. My son Jack is 8. It's like a 7 or 8-year-old died of the flu. They're both doctors. It's not that hard. I mean, it's like, it should be a no-brainer. Now you got this like polio-like thing that's sweeping across the country in more than a few states, and people are like, well, I don't know what it is. We just, you have to be smart, right? The common sense, for whatever reason, isn't as common as we used to think it is. But when you think that 80,000 people die from the flu, and we worry about shark attacks and global warming and all of this stuff, whew, come on. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do you have your ticket?
Long lines and big dreams. Over the weekend, the chance of somebody matching all the Mega Millions numbers were about 60%, but as excitement grows, so do sales. Experts think the chances of at least one person winning on Tuesday night will be about 75%. Of course, your odds of winning are still the same, 1 in 300 million, same as rolling a dice and having it come up all ones 11 times in a row. Folks in Massachusetts, New York, and Florida spend the most on lottery games, and overall, we Americans plunk down $70 billion a year on tickets. More than we spend on books, music, movies, and video games combined.
That's huge. Now, do you have your ticket? That's a big thing. Are you ready? Do you have your ticket? What are you going to do if you win?
I'm going to put some away, and then I want to buy some schools and recreation centers for the children, create some after-school programs and some essential things they need for learning.
I like that. I got no problem with that. I probably will help some people as well. Absolutely. Right? Now, a lot of people out there, you've got people handing you money, right? Saying, hey, office pool. Make sure you get, here's the thing about an office pool. Make sure you get everything in writing. Like this, because this is what happens is somebody forgets. They're not there. They're sick. They've played every week for the last year, but they're sick. Make sure that everybody knows who's in everybody's camp and who gets what, because otherwise there could be issues.
It's pretty crazy up here. Sometimes you have to designate one single employee for just the lottery.
Yeah. So make sure that you do that. Otherwise it becomes a nightmare. But I already know what I'm doing with my money. Oh, will I help some people? Absolutely. Will I help my family? Absolutely. Am I going to go anywhere? No. Phil's the one going somewhere. I am not going anywhere. But I've already said, look, you know what? I'm going to, I live a pretty good life now, and it's not going to change too much other than I'll be able to, invest in certain different things. But, and I might have some cooler animals than I already have, and I got a lot of cool animals. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Magpies, speaking of animals, here's useless fact today. They are one of the smartest animals in the world, and the only non-mammal that can recognize themselves in a mirror, and guess what? They like to play hide-and-go-seek. Think about that. Magpies, you know who you are. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Have a good rest of your day. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.